There's a version of your life where things feel very different, where you're not watching other people do the things you want to do, and instead it feels like your story is moving forward. And a lot of people know that that version exists, and they think about it all the time. They just never quite become the main character in that story. And so somewhere between school and adulthood and just surviving, a lot of us stopped participating in our own lives. And I want to talk about that idea because there's actually a place where most of us have practiced being the main character every single day, and we never even realized it. Now, I feel like a lot of people are not living their lives, and instead they're just watching their lives happen to them and watching this movie flash past their eyes. They wake up, react to everything that happens in the day, go to sleep, and they repeat that cycle over and over again. Nobody forced them into that path. They just drifted off to the side. And what's worse is that people, maybe even you, have absolutely enormous dreams. It's that sports car, the apartment, the freedom of being able to do whatever they want. You can see it in your mind, but you just can't believe that you are the one who gets to make that real. And it's very common for people to accidentally become side characters in their own story. And like I said, this is a drift off of the beaten path, not necessarily some kind of a failure. Nobody chooses to become a passive participant in their own lives. It happens momentarily over time in layers, because school tells you to follow a path, work tells you to follow a structure and a timetable, and gradually you stop making decisions and instead you start reacting to the world around you. But the dreams that you have, they don't go away. Instead, you stop believing that you are the one who gets to act on those dreams. And it happened exactly the same for me. I found a job that I was absolutely in love with, and then COVID took that away from me. I found another job that I loved, and then some corporate bullshit took that away from me. And so sometimes many people feel that even when you're doing everything right, you still end up starting over and over again. It doesn't necessarily matter if you're doing the right thing, and people feel disheartened. They feel empty because no matter how hard they try, it doesn't necessarily work out. So even me, I'm the one talking about this idea, hoping to inspire you, but I'm not above this experience. I've lived the experience of being a passenger in my own life. So that begs the question, why does this happen to people? And more importantly, what are we actually missing out on when it does? And the answer to that question is that life comes from you and not at you. And that's the big idea that I want to share with you. And that you are the only consciousness that has ever existed inside your life. You can't prove any other version of consciousness. Nobody else will experience your hunger, your specific frustration, or that exact version of wanting more for yourself. And that also means that nobody else is going to do anything about it. And it's not because they don't care, but because they literally cannot do anything for you. You are the one who makes it happen. And this is not your typical main character syndrome, cringy, narcissistic energy. It's not that kind of ego. The uncomfortable truth, rather, that you are the author of your own life and you cannot outsource that responsibility. The question falls on your shoulders whether you're actually going to write anything or you're just going to sit back and see what happens next. So you have to separate that ego, that cringe, that narcissism from what you're actually trying to get at, which is the self-authorship, that quiet, intentional, private, introspective approach, because you're not performing this life for anyone else. It's not a show for other people to enjoy. It's you building a future that you can be proud of. And most of us gamers, we already know how to do this. We've just never applied those things to anything outside this one specific place. Because in every game that you've ever played, you were the cause of everything that happened. You made the first move and the world responded back to you. Whenever you failed and tried again, or you adapted to a different circumstance, you committed to a choice that you made. You didn't wait to see if the next level would unlock itself. You made that choice for yourself and you lived with the consequence. And so that's not a fantastical version of agency, but rather an example of the real thing. And so you've practiced it inside this compressed version of reality. You've just never thought to bring that practice out into the real world. It's called the retry loop, and that failure is inherently data for you to move forward. If you are struggling to beat a boss in Elden Ring, every time you die, you're not starting from complete scratch all the way at the beginning of the game. You get to take that fight again, but with the experience of the failure before you to make better and more informed decisions. So that proves that failure is data and not an identity that one can absorb. And just like in gaming, it is the exploration of life for its own sake, for the sake of exploration. Just like in Skyrim, we ignored the main quest. We didn't rush to end the game. We went to talk to every person we could find and do every little mission we could find on the side. All of us side quest sallies going off the main path because you wanted to, and it was that hunger for experience of more of the things that life has to offer you. And so all of these are the skills that you already possess because these games were the practice of you trying to make that a reality. And so what does it actually look like then to translate that into real life? Because it's not necessarily as complicated as it sounds, and it's also not just a big dramatic magical change. Active participation is the small acts of authorship. When you start the channel and you start posting videos and you are consistent in that action, starting to go to the gym and going every day, starting your business and working on it every single day, you stack on top of each other these small acts of authorship and it compounds into something greater. And so again, it's not just one big massive transformation. It is a participation in making more decisions than you defer. Starting that channel, like I said, going to the gym, opening a business instead of scrolling every single night, all these little acts compound onto each other. Because the opposite of participation is not laziness, it's consumption. It's that nasty loop of watching shit over and over again, constantly learning and planning instead of actually doing anything. Because most people are consuming so much that they consume their own potential. They know what they want to build, but they keep researching on how other people build things instead of building it for themselves. And so you don't need that perfect plan. You just need a first step, because this whole game is not going to sit there and wait for you to feel ready, and neither will your life. And no matter what you do, consistency will beat perfection every single day and twice on Sundays. The more you show up repetitively, it accumulates because all those reps add up, and one day it's going to be a big, amazing thing. And so you don't want to be the one that waits for one thing to come along to change everything, because you're going to be waiting forever. And so this is not me telling you what to do. I made this channel because I needed to start participating in my own life. Every single video that I make is an act of self-authorship, one step forward to the thing that I want in life. And so I'm in this journey with you. So the controller to your life is still on the table. The game is not over yet. It hasn't ended. You just maybe put the controller down for a while. Maybe life got a little bit loud. Maybe things didn't go the way that you planned. And I understand that shit happens, but you are still the player. There's people waiting at the table and they expect to be fed, and you're going to be in the kitchen cooking. You're still the one who decides what happens next. And to be honest, that to me sounds like the only version of this story that is worth living. My name is Tofu, and if you enjoyed that video, please be sure to leave a like on that video. It really helps us out a lot, and be sure to subscribe to keep up to date with everything that we post. And I would really appreciate it if you head on over down to the description and join the lobby, which is my emailing list. And it's just a way for me to connect with you much faster than I can through YouTube. And you'll get to see things before they happen here, and we get to talk about things in more real time. And it's just another way for me to do cool stuff with you. And I would really appreciate it if you check that out. And I will see you in the next one.